Before we get going into your Hockey IQ podcast episode, I want to thank our sponsor, Rapid Shot. Rapid Shot is the smart shooting lane. It's like a batting cage for hockey players. Very cool. Tracks your shot in three ways: accuracy, shot speed, and reaction time. Easy to use. Actually, I used it when I played and was growing up. Very easy. Simply scan your phone in, select your settings, and start shooting. You can see your stats on the app and online. You can check them out at rapidshot.com. Great small business. I actually grew up with one of the owner's sons and have played with all the family members by now, just in local pickups here in Ohio. Very cool local business. Awesome product. I love it. I know quite a few NHLers have them in their homes. A lot of D1 programs have it at their rinks. So you have to check this out. Rapidshot.com. Check it out. Rapid Shot, thank you so much for sponsoring our podcast. On the Hockey IQ podcast today, we bring on Parker Burgess. He is the head coach of the Janesville Jets in the NAHL. Happy to have you on. Welcome.
Greg, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be on.
Well, you've got a quite the journey here. So you were at St. Thomas, and then you went to Nichols College, and then with Janesville. So you've kind of been in this similar sphere for quite some time. I'm curious what that journey has been like for you.
It's been a unique one for sure. You and I were chatting before a little bit. I don't think any coach, as you continue on this path and this journey, has a normal journey or a normal path to wherever they've gone to. There's a lot of side roads and bumps and obstacles that kind of come about as you go year to year. I grew up in Alberta, and just like a lot of, young Canadians, hockey was definitely a rite of passage and something that we all did as youngsters, and grew a passion for it. I had a family that loved hockey, and just the kind of the old prototypical hockey night in Canada every Saturday, and spend a lot of time at the rink, and all my buddies were hockey players, and played junior up in Canada, and never, was probably never good enough to play major junior. So I started looking at the collegiate route, and had some, family friends and people that we knew that were able to go to school and make hockey work for them and get an education out of it. And I think that appealed not only to me, but to my parents. And so I had a lot of great guidance, and started off my junior career in the BCHL, and probably thought I was a little better than I was, and got humbled pretty quick, and ended up getting traded a couple times, and eventually settled in Olds, Alberta for the Olds Grizzlies in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and finished off my 19-year-old year there, and did my 20-year-old year as well, and got an opportunity. It took all the way till the end of the season, but got an opportunity to commit to a Division I school in the US, and ended up going to Robert Morris for 2 years. And then from there, it just wasn't a great fit, probably on the ice and off the ice, and ended up transferring to the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota, and hadn't heard much about it, but I had somebody tell me, like, as you're driving from Pittsburgh, where Robert Morris was, as you're driving west back to Calgary, you should stop at St. Thomas and see the school and meet the coaches. And it'd be a really great option to play Division III hockey there. And so I did. I stopped there, and I met the coaches, and I saw the beautiful campus, and I knew about the academics, and the hockey program had a ton of success. And it was in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is a beautiful city, and was a little bit bigger, and kind of what I wanted from a campus community feel. And there were some good looking girls on campus too, so that didn't hurt, and ended up transferring there, and played 2 years for Terry Skrypek, who's a legendary coach in the D3 ranks, in the Minnesota coaching ranks. And as I graduated, we had a really great year my senior year, and went to the NCAA tournament and won a MIAC championship. And I felt like after my transfer from Division I to Division III, I kind of had that crisis that a lot of players go through, where maybe this is the end, and I don't have the passion anymore. And I was encouraged by my father to make sure that when I get done playing hockey, it's on my terms. And the game had given me so much, and taken me to a lot of cool places and a lot of great relationships with teammates and coaches. And so that was a talk that we had in Pittsburgh one night that was, encouraged me to continue my career and play Division III hockey. And I had such a wonderful experience doing it, being at St. Thomas and playing for Terry Skrypek and Jeff Besser, who ended up taking over the program. It really just reinvigorated my passion and love for the game. And I got to play with some great players and great teammates and win some hockey games. And I got to play and contribute to a really cool thing. And so then after that, my senior year, the head coach, Terry Skrypek, retires. And after 35 years, and the longtime assistant took over and he became the head coach. And I was mulling over some oil and gas jobs up in Alberta or some minor pro league hockey opportunities. And when I chatted with my family and said that there was an opportunity for me to get a master's degree and maybe coach hockey and get to continue being a part of the game, it's something that, was definitely best. And so I got into coaching that way. It wasn't, I don't think I really had this, I'm going to be a coach. Like, that's my lifelong dream. Like, there's definitely some factors that played into like me getting into coaching, but it wasn't like a childhood dream or anything like that. And I got an opportunity at St. Thomas, and I was there for 5 years and coached a lot of great players and learned so much from Duke, who was there for a long time, and just how to treat people. He was a great mentor. And I had a few opportunities kind of throughout being at St. Thomas, but I'm also a Canadian and I didn't have the necessary visas and stuff to pursue. I was on a sponsored visa at St. Thomas, so I couldn't really go anywhere. And eventually I was 29 years old, and I got an opportunity to be the head coach at Nichols College out in New England at a Division III school. And the really kind of the funny part about that was the reason I got my foot in the door at that school and with that job was I had met a young coach who was right around my age at a showcase. We ended up going for beers together, and 3 years later, I was still at St. Thomas, and he was at Nichols as the head coach. And when he moved on to go to the University of New England, his name's Kevin Swallow. He kind of said, "Hey, listen, I recommended you for the job, and if you're interested, it's yours." So that's how I got my first head coaching gig. And
That's amazing. Just going out for beers, getting to know a guy, and he gives you a recommendation. That's awesome. I'm curious too. What do you think is the biggest part about Division III hockey? Because I feel like a lot of people talk about D1, 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 and they don't realize how good Division III hockey is.
Yeah, D3 hockey is awesome. It definitely doesn't get the credit that it deserves. There's so many good players, and a lot of them for a number of different reasons might not get the opportunity to play Division I hockey. It might be, right now it's the transfer portal and fifth-year seniors, and it could be money or academics, or there's a lot of different factors. But D3 it's competitive. The kids care a lot. I think what's really interesting is, for the majority of the time at the Division III level, there's opportunities to play pro hockey after and things like that. But that might be, the players are pretty aware that this might be it for my career in competitive hockey. And because of that, I think you see on a lot of those teams, the egos kind of get cast aside, and they really care about winning for the school and for each other, and becomes less about points and, the individual awards. And it's really just like, it's really a really pure version of hockey. I enjoyed my time as a player, and I really enjoyed my time as a coach at the Division III level. I think if you can get into coaching and it is at the Division III level, like, you're preparing yourself, because there's just so many challenges that you're going to fight in Division III. There's no scholarships, so every school costs a different amount of money, and some of these, some of the programs have beautiful rinks on campus. And when I was at Nichols, our rink was in a different state. it was actually in Rhode Island and the school was in Mass. So you have this wide range. Some schools are 900 kids and some schools are, 20,000. So you're cutting your teeth and you're learning a lot. And chances are, if you're an assistant coach at the Division III level, you're in charge of recruiting. You're probably the equipment manager. You do all the travel, you reconcile receipts, you work contest management for the university or the college. So you're doing you're wearing all these different hats. You're probably running a social media account. And as you go, those little things that are non-coaching related, they really pay dividends down the road, because you have experience just wearing so many hats. And then you appreciate those things more kind of as you go.
Basically running the program.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Well, there are some things the head coach does, like season preparation and planning for that. So I'm curious, in your role, obviously past roles as well go into this, but how do you properly prepare for a competitive season with these type of athletes?
So being in junior hockey now, after Nichols, I made the transition to being a head coach in the North American League here in Janesville. It's obviously, they're both college and junior hockey or pro hockey. It's all coaching hockey, but they're very different jobs, and what you go through in junior hockey in comparison to college is very different. And there's no easier or harder or better or worse. It's just very different. So I had to really learn, we have camps now, and in college, it's just, you might be doing some recruiting or some preseason planning. We have some camps. Our main camp is in July. So making sure we have a very competitive, high quality main camp is something that's, we've been working hard, since the day after we lost out. That's something we've been preparing for, is to have a good main camp. We have a draft that's coming up in June. So we'll probably have 10 or 11 picks in that draft. And we got to make sure that we're procuring talent and bringing players into Janesville that are going to help us compete next year. And then you start thinking.
Well, let's stop there for a hot second, because I'm curious to hear about one of the tenders that you recently signed from the great state of Ohio. Go Buckeyes here in Columbus. What were the big things that you were looking for as you were recruiting him, or things that stuck out that made you very interested in that player?
So we're fortunate. We have in Janesville here, we've got a great general manager. His name's Joe Dibble. He does, with a few of our scouts, the majority of scouting. For a coach, it's really hard in a 60-game season for us to get out and see a lot of players. So it's crucial for us to have a great GM and scouting staff that helps identify talent. And so Ryan was somebody that I know right off the bat for our hockey operations people was on their radar. I think they saw him early on at a showcase and had heard about him through some of the U18 and U16 channels, and went out to watch him play. He's a big defenseman. He's the captain of the U18 Columbus Blue Jackets team, or the Ohio Blue Jackets. And we had him out to skate, and he just fit all the things that we wanted to bring in to our organization. And, he's an Ohio kid. It's funny. He's a rural Ohio kid. And every Sunday we find out that he, spends 3, 4, 5 hours with his dad, and they chop wood together. And this kid's got, the big hands and tough, he's got definitely that farm kid strength to him, and he's got a lot of skill. So we're excited about him. We also were very impressed. I think a lot of coaches and recruiters or people that are drafting players or signing players, you look at their elite prospects. And nowadays, with all the options there are for kids, you look at a kid's elite prospects, and one year it's, he's at a hockey academy, and then the next year he's with a AAA program. And then the next year after that, he's with a junior team. And then then he goes back to prep school, and there's all these different, the grass is greener somewhere else, and they're going to play more somewhere else, or this is promised to him somewhere else, or this is a better way to get a Division I scholarship or play pro hockey. So you see these kids just continually changing teams and organizations and moving all over the country for it. And the thing that stuck out to us with Ryan that we talked to him about extensively was how he had been a part of that Ohio Blue Jackets program since he was a youth. And he never left all the way up until playing on their U18 team and being the team captain. And, you know, he had opportunities to bounce here, bounce there, or go to a different route, prep school or high school or junior hockey early or whatever the case may be. And there was something to be said that he was loyal to the program that he was in. It obviously loyalty was a value that he really cared about. And we just knew that that's the type of person that we want in our organization. And we know in bringing him in, you know, we're going to be loyal to him and he's going to be very loyal to us. And if things don't go well or we hit a rough patch, he's not the type of kid that's in your office asking for a trade. You know, he's going to stick it through. So awesome kid. We're really excited about.
So we're going beyond just the on ice when we're looking to bring in players, correct?
Oh yeah, we do our homework. I mean, everybody, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like it takes a lot of really good people to build a culture, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes very few people to bring that culture down and ruin things for everybody. So we make sure we do our homework on and off the ice on the type of people we bring in. And it's just, they're a representation of our organization. So it's just as important who they are off the ice as it is on the ice.
Good to know. I really enjoy that. And I know that loyalty is important for you guys and doing the right thing up in Janesville. Because everyone I talked to has said the same thing, that you're always one of the youngest teams and you really have a developmental focus. I'm curious where that comes from, the alignment in the organization to make that possible. I'd love to hear some more about it.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. You know, that alignment within your organization has to be very clear, and that the message of what you're trying to accomplish as an organization, that has to be transparent and everybody has to be on the same page. And hockey is a competitive sport. We're in a competitive business, and junior hockey is at times, it's very much a business, just like pro hockey is and college hockey is. Winning matters. I think, first of all, the ownership group, you know, they're going to set the tone as to what the organization's values are and their philosophy. And from there, you're going to hire people within the business operation side of things, and then coaches and general managers that align, like you said, with what is most valuable for the ownership group. And I'm very fortunate, and we're very fortunate here in Janesville, that we have a tremendous ownership group with Bill McCoshen and Tim Barry, Joe Pavelski as one of our minority owners, that their top priority in doing this, and it's a huge part of why I took this job, was first and foremost the development and the advancement of the player. And with that, we really believe that you can achieve competitive excellence and win a championship. Now, we haven't done that yet. And I think in the North American League, it's true, like older teams win. And we're trying to do it a little differently, and we haven't got there yet, but we are developing players on and off the ice. You know, we ended up this season with 15 Division I committed players. You know, we had 5 players selected in the USHL draft this week. So yeah, I mean, we have, that's kind of,
and that's very high, right? 15 is a pretty high number for the NA going to Division I off of one roster.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, based on, I don't know if it's the highest. I don't look at the other lineup charts, but when I look at ours, there's a lot of logos on it, and that's because the kids work hard and we do it the right way, promoting them to schools. And yeah, so I think so.
Either way, I mean, development is key to getting where you want to go, right? Always just another day better. And I know you are a big proponent of always getting better, looking at things differently and finding a way. So it's got to filter its way down. It's awesome to hear about the alignment you have. I'm curious about how you best go about that. Are you doing a lot of video? Was it a lot of skills practices? What's the off ice look like?
It's a combination of all of them for sure. I think we make it really transparent off the bat with the players that, you know, they're not coming to Janesville for vacation. as beautiful as Janesville is, and like, you and I were chatting, the summers in Wisconsin are great. The winters can be a little snowy and cold. So they're coming to invest in their career and their development. Like, they're going to put the hours in, and there may be, other places where you can roll out of bed at 10 a.m. and go to the rink 30 minutes before practice and snap it around a little bit and then go play video games. But that's not how we do things in Janesville. And we want players that want to get better and want to put the work in. So it's a combination where we're very fortunate. We have a team yoga instructor. We have a full-time strength and conditioning coach that works with our group. We definitely splice in a lot of those skills practices, or we don't even call them skills. I think that's kind of, skill sessions is like that trendy word. And I think when you tell the kids skill sessions, they think about, just picking the puck up behind the net and doing the Zegras and the Michigan. And, we call them development practices. And, we're very intentional. And what are we trying to develop? What skill are we trying to develop when we go out here? So everything has a purpose. Same with practice. We're very structured. Monday is a yoga day in the morning for the most part. And then we'll do some individual film. And then Monday's our development day. So it's a lot of station work or position specific work, or, it could be power skating. That could be the skill we're developing that day. And I think as coaches, we've done a good job. Monday's practice is not based on the previous weekend. We have a plan for what we want to improve on. And, if we win on Friday and Saturday and we sweep, the plan doesn't change, and let's just play 3-on-3 the whole day because we won. And conversely to that, if we get swept, even if we don't play great hockey, the players don't show up Monday and get bag skated for 2 hours. So we have our program and we stick to it regardless. Now we make adjustments and tweaks along the way. But we try to take a little bit of the emotion out of it. And then Tuesdays, the kids are in the gym. Wednesdays, the kids are in the gym. We're a little bit more focused on some of the systems and things like that. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday we have our own day, and then you play Friday, Saturday. And we got video and individual video and a lot of fun team building things throughout the week too. So it's a good structure, and we tweak it as we need to. So.
Yeah, it seems like you need your lunch pail for that kind of program, but in the best way possible. If you weren't doing those types of things, I feel like you're leaving a lot on the table. As we all know, the playing careers are not that long, and it'll be gone before you know it. So better put in the work.
Absolutely, and the kids want to. I mean, we've been very fortunate to have, both years I've been in Janesville, kids don't want to get off the ice. It's awesome to see, even towards the end of the year, like we had to drag them off the ice, because they'll stay out there for 3.5 hours working on things. And I think you see that in the young players today. They want to get better. They don't want to just get out of the rink. They just want somebody to encourage them or work with them. And so after 2 years in Janesville, I think I need a new pair of skates because we put in a lot of hours on the ice, but it's been fun.
Yeah. And I'm curious, now that you've completed your second year here, maybe what are some reflections, some things you've learned, some things that you've implemented that have been great successes, et cetera. You've probably learned in dog years, given the fact that you didn't come from junior hockey, came from college route, but were able to take a lot of that goodness back to juniors.
Yeah. Without even talking about last year, this year was, first of all, when you're coaching Division III hockey, it's a blessing and a curse. You play a 25-game schedule. So I remember when I coached Division III, I loved the fact that it was a shorter schedule because it was so intense. But at the same time, it always left you wishing you wanted to play more games. There's too many practices. I want to play more games. Then you get to junior hockey and it's 60 games. This is like 40 weeks of hockey over and over again. And so this year we learned I've definitely learned just the length of the season and working to keep the kids engaged throughout a long season, finding little different challenges throughout the year, doing things differently to keep things fresh, and while also maintaining the routine and structure that we talked about earlier. But this year, we had a really short summer last year, where it was really difficult with COVID the year before to get out and scout players. You were doing everything online or via phone calls with coaches or agents or whoever. So going into the draft, I don't think we were, and the tendering process, we probably weren't. It wasn't a normal year. You couldn't have players come skate and get to know them as much. And then it was like our season ended in June, and then 7-8 weeks later, our team was back. A brand new team is back, and you're getting ready to start this long journey together. And we really didn't have a lot of time to plan and get things ready. And so we did our best, and we had an assistant coach move on. And so we had to hire a new assistant coach, and, then it's training camp, and then you're going to the Blaine showcase, and, you blink and you're up in Alaska for 2 weeks. And we were in a position too, being the youngest team the previous year, we had, I think, 8 or 9 players start the year in the USHL. And so we had this team, and it was kind of looking at it like, okay, we may or may not get some players back. And it turned out we didn't really get any of them back. Not early on. We got one back later. So we ended up starting the year 3-12. And, it was definitely not the start you're looking for. And it was a very trying time for the players and the coaches. And it was not expected, especially considering this season we had the year before. But we were able to dig our way out, and we had a tremendous second half. And we were, just a lot of lessons along the way, a lot of hard ones. But
let's dig into those. What are some of those beautiful lessons? I feel like that's the key, that we need to spread the goodness into the hockey world. I'm excited. You got me riled.
Yeah, I think honestly, we turned it around. Like we were 3-9 going into this Alaska trip, and the kids were pretty down, and the coaches we were hanging on, and we went up there, and we ended up losing the first 2 games against Anchorage, and that made us 3-11. And now you have a full week in Alaska, and now you go from Anchorage to Fairbanks, and knowing we have to play Fairbanks 3 games in a row up in Fairbanks. It's a really hard place to play. And that week was a grind. It was a huge challenge, because everybody knew the position we were in and the record, and there was a lot of pressure. And so just managing the emotions of 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, and like trying to keep it light while also emphasizing the urgency of needing to win some games in Fairbanks, or at least get things moving in the right direction. And I don't think there was 1 or 2 things that changed. It was just continuing to believe as a group and manage our emotions so that we didn't implode or even subconsciously quit. And we just so happened, we lost the first game in Fairbanks. So that was 0-3 on that road trip. That put us at 3-12. And again, it wasn't any miracle speech or one player that stepped up or anything like that. We just showed up the next day, and all season long, we kind of had a 1-0 mentality. Like, just when you're in as bad a place as we were, it really does force you. The only thing you can take care of is that game. Like, we're not going to be 500 tonight. We just have to win a game. And then it was like, we won on Friday night, the second game in Fairbanks, and everybody just took a breath. Like, it was like, thank God we got one. And then we got the next one and played really well. And so now you're flying home, and the plane ride's pretty jubilant, and kids are happy, and you start believing, like, maybe we can do this. And then, in the second half of the season, I think we had the best record in the North American League, and we had an 11 game winning streak. And what it did do is through all the good times, it definitely, I think as players and coaches, we appreciated the wins a little bit more considering what we had been through. And, it built resilience, and maybe not even just for this year for the kids, but down the road, they're going to hit a rough patch with the team or as a person or as a player. And they'll probably look back and be like, geez, I was 3-12 in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I was able to turn that around. So I can probably turn this around.
Yeah, that's quite the story. I love hearing that. Because life will hand you adversity. It's just when and how well you handle it, right? So it's awesome you're almost thankful for the adversity. Obviously, once it's passed, especially.
Yeah, not at the time, but after, yeah.
Yeah, not at the time, but after the fact. Absolutely. I always correlate it to the golf ball. Like, why does a golf ball have dimples?
I don't know. What's the answer to that one?
Helps it fly better. So it's like you get all, and the reason they found this out is they used to try to make perfectly round golf balls.
Okay.
And they wouldn't fly that well, but as they started getting nicks from getting hit, they used to fly better and better. So then someone started putting them on there purposely. So I always say, like, hey, we need the little nicks, we need a little adversity to hit, so that way we can have a more controlled, better trajectory going forward.
Yeah, I like that.
So the dimples actually help the ball go further and help it in controlling it so that you can shape the shot better.
I think sometimes this year the dimples felt like chunks, big chunks coming out of the ball.
Either way, it helped you get where you should be, right? Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear. I'm curious. I have two other big areas that I want to focus on, and one that I'm very passionate about, because I think a lot of times coaches come in and impose their will on a team. And I always, it was Donald Rumsfeld who gave the great quote: you go to war with the army that you have, not the army you wish you had. I'm curious kind of what that means to you, because I believe that you're very much one to coach what you have, not the one or the team that you wish you had.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was having this conversation with a coach colleague, not a hockey coach, but a really smart guy. And we had chatted about, is culture, and I don't know the answer to this. There's a lot to unpack, and the answer probably lies somewhere in the middle. Is culture defined more so about what you allow or what you can create? Do you create a culture, or is it more about what you allow people to get away with and what your standards are? And it is probably somewhere in the middle. And I think what you learn is every team it's just so different, and it has a life of its own, and you can't force, I know as coaches, we all want teams that are competitive and have high character and all these things, but some years you might have a team that's just a group of mavericks and with high level personalities, and it can be volatile at times, but it's probably ultra competitive, and it's probably very high maintenance to coach that group, but you can be successful with that group and it can be a lot of fun. And then other years you might have a quiet group who's well reserved and well mannered, but they have the talent and the skill. You just have to push them a little bit. And we try to recruit the right player and the right kid, but I don't think any of us ever gets it right. So sometimes this is what you're working with. And how can you be successful with that group? And how can you push a little bit, push them in the right direction to be more competitive, or, more whatever you're looking for. So yeah, I think you just learn, like, as the season goes, you definitely early on have to have your standards and values. Like, you have to give, especially junior hockey players, you have to give them hey, listen, this is kind of what we're going to tolerate and what we're not going to, and what our vision is. But I don't know if you can sit there day one and be like, after a summer of thinking, this is what our team's culture and philosophy and everything's going to be. I think you kind of grow into it throughout the year. You add pieces and push pieces, and, hopefully get that synergy within the group that clicks. And Some years it does, and more years it doesn't. But you're just trying to move pieces and figure out what the pulse of the group is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're trying to move the group in a positive direction, and every team has their own personality that you try to best mentor. That's kind of the way I take that.
Yeah.
Because people are people, you can't force it. They want to have to do it, and the internal motivation, and I think that's the true art of coaching, is how do you help people want things or figure out the best way to motivate themselves to do the things they know they need to do to accomplish the goals they've set for themselves. And that's the art of coaching. There's the science behind it, and there's you have to create some kind of standard, some kind of accountability, ways of working, whatever that may be, that we all as coaches hold tried and true. But at the same point, at the end of the day, we're not the ones doing the work.
Yeah, no, they're doing it. And it's funny, like it's like one of the biggest conversations I hear hockey coaches. Hockey, it's the most prevalent. Hockey, we're so traditional that captaincy matters beyond belief. Who's the captain of the team? You wear the letter on your jersey. It's like, it's a huge deal, and it's a huge honor. I got to be a captain, and I understand that. But I think in the sport of hockey, more so than any other sport, there's this like mythical importance that comes with being a captain. But every year, I talk to these other coaches, like, how do you pick captains? Do you do it at the end of the year and have the team vote on the next year's captains, or do you do it in training camp or the next year? And do you have 1C and 2As, or do you have 1C and 3As, or do you have a home C and then 2A? Like, there's a million different dynamics. And I think early on in my coaching career, you're like, oh, you can only have one captain. You can't be doing this 3 captain thing. And then the next year you have a group that doesn't have a clearly defined leader. It's very much more group leadership based. So if you're stuck in your ways with like, no, I only do one captain, you might lose your team right there because 2 guys are upset that whatever. So you have to, every year just presents a different challenge, but a different dynamic that you have to work within.
True that. Yeah, that's so true. Absolutely. Some years I don't even give out a C. It's just nothing but A's.
Yeah.
Or you just let the group be what it's going to be. But you should only, I always tell fellow coaches, like, you should only hand out the C when you're 100% sure of who you want it to be. Otherwise, it's probably going to create more problems than not. And there are
very hard
you don't have it.
Yeah, yes. It's very hard to take back. It's we had that this year. We didn't announce it till game 21. And I look back and I'm like, it was good to be more patient than too quick with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Always more patient when you're handing out letters.
Yes.
That'll get you in trouble real quick. So young coaches out there, please take note of that last one.
Yeah.
Moving on to my last section here, I really want to just talk about details within the game. A lot of coaches, especially when we're talking of moving from U18 or U16 into juniors and juniors into college or pros or wherever the destination may be. Heck, you're going to be beer league. What are some key details that you're trying to develop in your players? One for me, I try to teach is angling. Like, for me, that's a key detail of the game. How do we think offensive rushes? Like, those are things that get on my mind, but other coaches, it's all about stick detail. Curious, what are some of the details that you really harp on?
I mean, it seems like there's probably a lot we could go through. I guess away with the puck, away from the puck, being aware, and, we call it a gaff meter, like your give a whatever meter, just being aware and caring without the puck. And you can see a lot of that just in body language, like in D zone coverage, or when a guy's back checking or defending a rush or looking to pick somebody up. A lot of you can tell how usually, like, how good is this guy at defending based on his body language and his effort. It's really, and then, awareness plays a part in it, but like, just look like you you got to care. You got to have your knees bent. You got to have, a strong top hand. You have to make sure your eyes are moving and your head's moving. You're communicating verbally and non-verbally. So that's, without the puck, we really, you got to care. And it's as simple as moving your feet on a back check. That's an easy way to show everybody that you care about tracking, is moving your feet. Angles are important too. I feel like angles for us, it's more technique based. And then with the puck, some of the details is having a positive first touch, being able to receive passes or put pucks in areas that are away from the defender. What happens after your first touch of the puck? Is it in a better spot for you? Is it in a better spot for your teammate? Or is it vulnerable? Does it bounce off your stick? Were you not ready for it? What happens? And that's something soccer talks a lot about too. European football is just their first touch. What happens? Are you advancing the puck? What's going on? So that's something we track too. What happens after a player's first touch? Is it going this way in a better spot than it was? Or is it going this way because we weren't ready for it or because we turned it over? So that's a big one. And then another one that I know I'm sure a lot of coaches talk about is finishing inside. It's as simple as, your dad probably told you this as a youth player, go to the net and stop and good things happen. I think the speed of the game is great, but with the speed, it's a lot more take the puck to the net and go behind the net or fly by, and just encouraging players and even the defensemen finish inside and the rebound pops out, or eventually the goalie gets uncomfortable because you're continually finishing inside. So those are some, I'm sure there's other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head, but some ones that come to mind.
So you're tracking the fact or the detail of the first touch. I'm curious to hear more about what exactly you track, because I think a first touch is a very, very good thing to track because it sets up the next play. And then you're talking about playmaking, chains of events, etc. So I'm curious to see what else you track.
Yeah. So it's did we advance it? Did the puck get advanced? If you wanted to do it individually based, it could literally, you could pick your categories that go into the positive side. The puck moves a zone, or, the player catches it and starts skating it. So we're transporting it up the ice. He moved it directly to another player. You could have your positives, and then maybe obviously a turnover's a minus. The puck goes back into the zone because you kind of bobbled it and then you have to bring it back. That could be a minus. So we track kind of various areas of the ice and what happens with it. And it basically just comes down to, and that's how we've kind of broken it down, a positive or negative first touch. And, our players see it and they talk about it. And you see them get better at it because you focus on it in practice, and you hear the kids, if they miss a pass or it bounces off their stick, it's not, hey, catch the pass, just first touch. So I think it gets in their minds too, I got to be ready for this. But not only do I have to be ready, I need to be ready for the next play, because now I want a part of my positive first touch is to advance the puck and to know what I'm going to do with it next. So I get it and then I'm going to give it. And now you're there's two in a row. 2 positive first touches. Now we have a zone entry with speed, possession. We might score a goal, literally simply by making a pass, having 2 positive first touches. But if we have a negative first touch on that first pass, second play never happens. The puck's still in our zone. So it becomes kind of part of your identity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there any other stats that you're tracking or any other key areas that you're keying in on beyond just the first touch?
Every team's different. We get, and I'm sure you're familiar, the league works with Instat, which is an incredible platform that I've been using for 4 years. And I'm probably 6% into all the information that they have. You know,
how can you ever go back?
You can't. You can't ever go back. Once you have it, it doesn't matter. They can charge you 3 times the amount, and you're just like, I need it. I'll never be able to do this again. There's not enough time in the day. But it is almost information overload. So you have to kind of look at it and be like, I can't care about all this. What are the things that matter to our team and to our potential team success? And then we'll care about those things, you know, and for us, I think this year, because of the players we had, something that we looked at a lot was, you know, shots inside the house, and then odd man rushes for and against. We weren't the type of team, every team's different. Like, we didn't shoot it from everywhere and try to shoot to break teams down and get rebounds. We felt like if we shot it from the outside aimlessly and missed the net, like that's a turnover. So we weren't as worried about shot attempts or shots on goal, more about where are the shots coming from and are they high quality.
So we're all in agreement here that point shots suck, right?
Well, point shots from the sideboards that miss the net wide definitely do suck. Yeah.
Yeah. They're awful. But I'm glad that you're talking about it, because I feel like that is such an insightful piece into how high level hockey is played, which is inside. Whether you said finishing inside, shooting from the inside, and finding ways to do that. That's massive.
Well, and another really basic thing, and this, you know, you asked about what details we find important. So we talk a ton about finishing inside and stopping in front. So then that is connected with, you know, another stat that we do track. That's probably, again, something that your dad told you when you were 6 years old. You got a lot better chance of scoring if you hit the net more often than not, than if you know, put a bar down 1 out of every 10 times. And so, you know, it does sound old school, like hit the net. But if we're going to take one of those shots from outside of the scoring area, and if you're in the scoring area and you're one-on-one with the goalie and you can get your head up and you can pick that corner, or you can see high glove or right by the ear, listen, we want to give our players free rein to take that shot and have confidence to make it. But if the puck's bouncing, or you're off balance, or you're outside of a grade A scoring area, maybe you're outside the dots, then it's 100% your responsibility to extend the play by making sure that puck gets on the net, not in the goalie's chest area. And now, if we're doing a good job with that detail of finishing inside, we're getting rebounds and we're probably getting second, third opportunities. But if we miss the net, it doesn't matter if we finish inside. We don't get the rebound. And I'm sure the kids get sick of hearing extend the play. If you're going to take that shot, man, it's high level junior A hockey. So they can hit the net. They just have to, it's focus. You just tried to go bar down, or you weren't thinking about extending the play. You were thinking about scoring. And so once they do it and have success, and they're like, wow. And it's not always like the pass off pad stuff, but you put it in his chest, it just kills the play.
Yeah, I mean, what was 90%? We'll say 90% of shots don't end in a goal. So how do we start thinking about maybe extending to shot recoveries, and hitting the net is a lot better than missing high and wide and rimming it around, and that is a turnover just as much as dumping and changing.
Well, we worked on it. The guy that really brought this to light for our team was our goalie coach. You know, he was just like, hey, we're not extending the play enough. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, yes, I agree with you. And he's like, well, when we take low percentage scoring chance shots, we're not getting good enough second opportunities from that. And I was like, that's a really good point. We're not getting any second opportunities. How do we do it? And so he chatted with the players about areas on the goalie that would result in the most rebounds. And they, the kids ate it up. It's not just off the pad. It's here's an area inside his arm that he's going to have trouble. So now when they're shooting, even if it's subconsciously or at the last second, they're like, I'm going to stay away from his glove. Because if I throw this muffin from outside the dots anywhere around here, he catches it, whistle, now we have a face-off. But if we put it where Larry told us, I might even get that rebound and score, or I get a point, and they all have points. So everybody wins.
Everyone wins. Listen to the goalies more often. I love it. And just a snippet of absolute gold in what you just said, and I want to make sure that everyone picks up on it, is the fact that low percentage shots, so outside of the house, also result in low percentage rebounds and shot recoveries. Chances that are from inside the house result in better rebounds. So it's not just, you throw from the outside to get a rebound. Well, that's still low. Like you're still not creating the quality. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that golden nugget you just dropped on us. So thank you.
No problem.
All right. Well, this was an absolute gem of an episode. I'll give you 2 minutes here at the end to talk about anything you want, anything we missed, whether it be another detail. I felt like we were going down such a great rabbit hole. So I think we might have to come back and circle on this wagon again.
Yeah, let me think. I think all coaches, one of the details that they try to implement in their team is competitiveness, and how to breed competitiveness in practice. And the funny thing is, so all of us coaches, we're learning along the way, and we kind of need our own coaches too, or we need, especially that, as a head coach, you need somebody to talk to and bounce things off of. And I'm very fortunate. I work with a guy who does that. And we were chatting about this season. One of the challenges we had with our team is, and I don't know if it was because we were young or just the group we had, like we were chatting about earlier, every team is built a little different and the personalities are different. Our team was ultra competitive to the point where, I was chatting with this coach mentor of mine, and we had to talk about like stopping playing small area games or not keeping score anymore and we had to completely get rid of like any sort of like, if you lose, you skate, because it would just be meltdown city, so our team was so competitive, but it bordered on volatile that we had to actually really think outside the box as to different things we could do that had no consequences to still get the same result and the same development piece without having this like competitiveness to it. So I thought it was interesting that, we had a group this year that, as coaches, we talk, do all these small area games and get them to compete and one-on-ones in the corner. And, maybe you just have a group that you don't need to, really push that as much. We showed the clip from, what's the Jackie Moon movie? Semi-Pro?
Yeah, Semi-Pro.
Yeah. So there's that funny scene where the team's kind of bitching at each other, and Will Ferrell like yells at him like, everybody love everybody. Like, and he's getting all fired up, and it's hard not to laugh. So we like showed that clip before practice this year. And when we would put out our practice plan in the locker room and on the ice, we still, so much of what they learn comes from small area games. Like we all know at this point, hopefully as coaches, that playing is a great way to develop those habits and details and skills. And so we still have to do small area games. We just don't want them ready to fight each other in the locker room. So what do? So we showed this clip, and on our practice plan, it would be whatever the small area game was, and the focus, which, we put each drill that we do, there's a focus, and the kids are supposed to read it, and hopefully they do. Sometimes they don't. But beside it was ELE. This is an ELE small area game. And so by the end of the year, we tell the kids, like, you guys know what ELE means, right? And they're like, yeah, everybody love everybody. So they couldn't bitch. They might lose 3-2, but they had to work through losing. And it was just a fascinating kind of, and it honestly, Greg, like it forced them to like manage their emotions better.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. I was like, this is just like the biggest microcosm situation around managing your emotions and not just getting rattled to the point where you can't function. And like
Yeah.
everybody love everybody is literally just saying like, hey, it's okay.
Yep.
Tomorrow the sun is gonna rise and we'll go get back at her.
Yeah, like we're all on the same team. Like I know you're wearing a gray jersey today and they're wearing a navy jersey, but your buddy and also might be your line mate just scored a really sweet goal in 4-on-2 power play game. You don't need to snap and try to break your stick or let it ruin your day. Like go give them a tap on the shin pads and let's move on here. So it was fun, which I mean, as coaches, a lot of us don't have that skill. And for 17, 18-year-old players, when they lose a 4-on-2 power play game on a Thursday, for a lot of them, it's the same as losing a game on Friday. So it does help you learn to manage emotions. And yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, they're still got some testosterone going, so that's fun. But yeah, thank you again, Parker, for coming on. This was a wonderful episode. I'm excited to release it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and you're doing great work. And I know you're building this thing through your newsletter and podcast and Twitter, and just keep doing the great work you're doing, man.
Sounds good. We'll continue, you and I, to take over the hockey world in a positive manner. I love it.
Sounds good. Take care. Thanks for having me.
That concludes this week's episode. Thanks for joining us here at Hockey IQ. If you haven't already, take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and drop a review. If you want to be a great teammate, even recommend us to a friend. You can follow us at Hockey's Arsenal on Twitter and Instagram. Check out the website, hockeysarsenal.com, where you can subscribe to the weekly newsletter. You won't regret it. Catch your buttes here next week for a brand new episode.